Smashed. Amy the Rat is de-ratified, and some stuff happens with Spike.
We open with a couple being mugged in an alley, and when Buffy shows up, she assumes they're vampires, but they're just two human guys.
And after the would-be victims run off, Spike interrupts by jumping from out of nowhere, which ends up with him activating his chip.
And Buffy is completely in character, even though these are not vampires, because she lets them run off too.
Spike tries to talk to her about how they made out twice, but she again says she's not willing to talk about it.
Which I'm pretty sure is what I said I thought would happen, and I would be very annoyed. So I am very annoyed.
And as she leaves, Spike says that she'll soon realize that he's the only one there for her.
Elsewhere, Willow was still in mope mode because she f***ed up her entire life by the choices she made about magic.
She pulls out Amy, who they surprisingly haven't managed to kill yet.
And who I now realized has seen many private acts by the people in this house.
Willow suddenly gets the idea to use a spell to find out the spell that will turn her back into a human, which she then does.
It was a little bit odd that she hasn't done this yet, because she's done a lot tougher shit, and she's bragged to everybody about how amazing she is with magic.
Well, but see, it is consistent because it shows her selfishness, that she never thought about Amy again.
Yeah, and the fact that it would take reading 4 words to change her back into a human. And because Amy came back, I thought, hey, this episode might be good. But then we cut to the nerds robbing a museum and really dating this show with a Mission Impossible 1 reference.
There are some lame jokes about the methods they're using to steal this diamond, and after they obtain it, they're confronted by a security guard, and then there are some lame jokes.
And then they date this show again by basically copying Batman and Robin, stealing a big diamond and using a freeze ray.
I didn't think about that, but yeah.
I always think about Batman and Robin.
Amy is not adjusting well to being a human again, and is slinging magic all around. She reveals that she doesn't realize how much time has passed since she got turned into a rat, and that she thinks she's still in high school. Which could have been an interesting development, but they don't do anything with it.
And Willow struggles to tell Amy how long it's actually been.
And I have a note here that says, Nick is going to say that Amy should know that time has passed from Willow being older. Did you have a note about that?
No.
Okay, I'm surprised. It would be a valid point, but Amy is clearly also not thinking clearly because of having been under this spell for so long.
Okay, I'm glad you came full circle on your logic there.
Which, by the way, it was a spell that she cast on herself in the first place. So having been a rat all this time is 100% her own fault. I went back to check because I couldn't remember who did it.
Buffy comes home and goes to talk to Willow, and she sees Amy, who has been getting caught up by Willow about the past seasons of the show.
And Buffy says that she can stay at the house. Willow says it's nice having another magically inclined friend around, which was an idiotic line.
And, of course, makes Buffy feel like shit for not being able to do magic. So Buffy just leaves.
Is that how you took it? Okay.
Because Buffy wants to talk about Spike.
Yeah.
But she realizes that every character, not just her, is incredibly self-centered. So she just leaves.
In the living room, Amy talks to Buffy about how much things have changed, and Buffy learns about the frozen guard at the museum. So she goes to the museum and sees the frozen guy being wheeled out, but then apparently is just going to walk away when she bumps into Spike.
Of course. Spike brings up their intimacy again, and Buffy claims that she was vulnerable because Giles had just left.
And it was causing her to make bad decisions, as if she doesn't do that all the time anyway.
Right. She tells Spike that he is evil and a disgusting thing, and she turns to leave, but Spike grabs her, so she punches him, and then he punches her, but is strangely not affected by his brain chip. But he acts like he is in order to keep the secret to himself.
When Buffy leaves, Spike goes to find prey, so he follows a girl into an alley and pontificates about how he's dangerous and evil, and Buffy needs to remember that, or something. But when he tries to bite her, the chip does activate, and she gets away.
The next day, Tara is hanging out with Dawn, who is drinking a milkshake that she probably stole. And after some small talk, Tara tells Dawn that her moving out of the house had nothing to do with Dawn.
Dawn asks if she and Willow will ever get back together, and she tells Tara that Willow has been more careful with magic lately, which means Willow probably cast a spell on her to make her think that. At the magic shop, the gang reads about the museum guard being thawed out, and Buffy asks if they should try to call Giles, as if he could somehow do something that they can't.
But we've seen that he can. Do you remember the last time he showed up? He just picked up a book and said, oh yeah, here's all the information you need to know about this demon.
Yeah, but remember when Dawn did that herself a couple episodes ago too?
Well, why isn't she there?
Good question.
Willow says she can help, and when she goes in her bag, they're worried that she's going to use magic, but she pulls out her laptop instead to do some hacking, but then proceeds to combine her technology and magic skills, which I joked about forever ago, and now that's actually happening, and I don't even know what to say. How does that even work?
And why didn't she do that first instead of them going through all the books, if she clearly has no problem with it? And why doesn't she do it all the time? And I'm sure she'll never do it again.
And when she's finding this information via hacking, it sounds like she's just reading a news story. So I don't know what kind of hacking was going on.
Well, she said it was police files with information they were withholding to smoke out the criminals, which made me wonder how that was supposed to work. Like, what the logic was on the police side, and how that was supposed to alert or not alert the criminals. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
This is why you're going to get caught eventually.
Anya points out how everyone else is afraid to point out that Tara left Willow because she was abusing magic. But Willow says that things just got blown out of proportion, and some time apart for them is a good thing.
Spoken like a true addict.
And she also mentions that she left Amy alone at home. Why didn't they bring her with them?
Good question. Elsewhere, the nerds are admiring their diamond when Spike busts in and demand that they help with his chip. And at this point, I thought he was going to have them remove or deactivate his chip, but in reality, he just wants them to make sure it's working as intended. And Warren created a Buffy android. Why would he not be able to just pull out this tiny-ass brain chip?
Well, he's also doing surgery on a, I was going to say a living being, but an undead being. I think it's a little different from a robot. I don't know.
Couldn't he just deactivate it remotely? What's the point of being a nerd if you can't deactivate brain chips?
Warren tells the others that if they help Spike, he'll owe them, and they can have him keep Buffy out of their hair.
And when they try to negotiate, Spike just tells them to f*** off, and they will do what he tells them to do.
You skipped over all the dumb jokes about Spike threatening to break their Boba Fett action figure.
I didn't skip. It was a conscious choice.
Willow gets back to the house, and Amy says she wants to go somewhere else. Willow asks Amy if she wants to see her father, and she says no, because it would be too hard to explain how she became a rat. So did none of the other parents back in Gingerbread ever try to apologize for trying to burn his daughter alive? I guess not.
And then Amy states she wishes there was a way that her father could just forget the past 3 years, and Willow looks like I do when anybody mentions meth. But that doesn't actually go anywhere, and I thought it would.
Amy says she would rather go do something fun, and pretends to challenge Willow's ability to do so, and it was dumb.
And then they both leave to go have fun.
Because they are both dumb.
In the nerd basement, Warren determines that Spike's chip is working as intended. So Spike is happy to know that that means that something is different about Buffy and not him.
Dawn and Tara get back to the house, and Dawn manages to get Tara to agree to stick around until everyone else gets back. But this is the last we will see of them in this episode.
Oh, is it really?
I think so.
Oh, what a good episode. Willow and Amy are at the Bronze playing Magic Pool, which was ridiculous.
Especially the fact that they're doing it right out in front of everyone. But somehow no one notices.
Amy is approached by two dudes to dance.
Willow says she's not interested, so Amy uses magic to make a girl come over to talk to Willow. But Willow says she's still not interested, so Amy lets her go.
And that also was in public, casting magic right out in the open.
Not to mention manipulating people's brains.
Well, you don't need magic to do that.
Well, yeah, but I mean... Then there's a random scene of Willow talking to an olive before she eats it. It's supposed to be a funny, cute little scene, but on this channel we like to look deeper to find the hidden truths in the shows that we review. So we know that the scene actually points out that Willow is completely unstable and an idiot. Granted, we knew all that already, but now we know it even more.
Amy eventually comes back over to hang out, but the two dudes are entitled and try and drag Amy back to the dance floor.
I said they become cartoonishly demanding.
Yeah, I mean, you could also just say dicks.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it was over the top and ridiculous. So Amy grants their wish for a dance by putting them in weird sex club cages.
And again, nobody seems to mind or react at all.
Meanwhile, Buffy, Xander, and Anya have apparently been researching this entire time when they finally come to the conclusion that the guard was not frozen by a demon.
Yes, it was clearly Mr. Freeze.
They talk about Willow, who Buffy says will be fine, but Anya and Xander argue that she's realizing the joy of using powerful magic. And of course, Xander uses the word seduced. And of course, Buffy starts thinking about Spike. And of course, Spike happens to call right at that moment. And of course, she reads into his request to meet her at the cemetery as something sexual, because this is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and these writers are really good at being subtle. Just like we are at expressing our opinions about this show.
Surprisingly, Buffy does not go to the cemetery to meet Spike. And later, once they're all done researching, or doing what they call researching, Buffy is walking home alone when Spike confronts her.
He says she should be careful around him, and when she punches him, he punches her back, again. And this time he tells her that he can hurt her because she must have come back wrong.
And that horrifies Buffy, so they continue to beat the shit out of each other. And I just said, yes, it's going to result in sex, let's just get to it already. Because that's how the show goes, and has gone for the past 3 episodes.
At the Bronze, Willow is understandably tired of the shitty music, so she magically turns the singer into a woman with dead eyes, tying back to when one of the cartoon assholes called her Ellen.
She and Amy are casting magic like they're in a freaking Disney movie, and the special and visual effects teams got to throw in whatever they had lying around. One guy growing bigger and the other guy growing smaller. So stupid.
It was amazing. They eventually get bored and end up putting everything back the way it was, which I honestly wasn't expecting. I figured they would just leave everything like that and it would never get addressed. And the people don't seem to remember what happened, so that at least covers up kind of a hole, I guess, in the writing.
Well, they didn't seem to be aware of what was happening as it was happening.
Yeah, maybe everybody in Sunnydale is an idiot.
That would make sense. That would make this entire show make sense.
Willow says there must be somewhere else they can go to move things to a larger scale.
Back at the Buffy Spike fight, they start assaulting each other emotionally as well as physically.
Spike tells her she doesn't fit in anymore, but she tells him that he doesn't fit in either now that he can't be a real vampire.
And he responds saying he'll show her where he fits, and then they have sex.
Apparently without taking any clothes off or unzipping anything. It was kind of weird.
But also very explicit. I was surprised at how much so.
Yeah.
And then the episode is over.
Thankfully.
That's not a joke, it just ends.
Smashed. Overall?
I am surprised that Amy came back, and I'm glad it was finally addressed. But I wonder if she will continue to stick around. For Willow, it would make sense, because she could kind of become Willow's faith character. It was a little bit strange that she did not hold any resentment towards Willow, but maybe that's part of a bigger plan, and that's assuming that Amy sticks around. She could be a good main antagonist for this season, because it would force Willow to use magic to save everybody, even though that's what has caused Willow a lot of pain. It would be much better than the nerds, who again showed up and haven't completed whatever their plan with the diamond is, which means they're going to show up again.
That's a good point with Amy, I agree. I hadn't thought about that, but that would be a good way for them to go.
Which means they won't.
Correct.
This Buffy Spike thing has been stupid for quite a while. That has not changed. The writers continue to shove him into the same location as Buffy, have Buffy roll her eyes, Spike get mad, Buffy storm off, over and over and over again until the last instance when they make out and or have intercourse. I look forward to the next episode when Buffy tells Spike that it didn't mean anything.
Dang it, I have that in my notes too.
I just imagine them going down the entire path. Like, she'll have a kid, and she'll be like, it doesn't mean anything, and then they'll buy a house together, and she'll be like, it doesn't mean anything. And then they'll go on all these retirement vacations together, and she'll be like, it doesn't mean anything.
Okay, that would be really funny.
And then at, his funeral, she'll be like, it didn't mean anything. The only interesting thing about any of that was Spike's chip not being affected by Buffy. Hopefully that will not be a lame reveal why, but hard as it is to believe, this show has let me down before. That's all I have to say story-wise, but something that really stood out to me in this episode was the pacing. It felt really off for pretty much the entire episode. I don't know if they got a new editor, but scenes felt stagnant, or they went on for too long, or didn't actually have any purpose. I mean, it also could just be they didn't have enough good material.
I think it might also be that there wasn't really a problem in the episode for them to focus on. Like, there wasn't somebody they were actively fighting. meaning it was more about the characters, but these writers aren't good at writing characters.
Yeah, the only thing they were fighting was my attention span. This was not a good episode, and I gave it a low grade because of that. I gave it a D+.
Okay, I didn't go quite that low. I gave it a C-. Amy being back is interesting, kind of, but they've already turned away from a lot of the potentially interesting story stuff they could have done with that, and basically just had her be an accomplice for Willow, which is disappointing, because they even brought up points that they could have explored, and then they didn't explore them. Instead, they just kind of made jokes. Willow, using magic so much, keeps making less and less sense. Xander tried to justify it from, like, a writing perspective by saying that it's human nature to become power-hungry, but it's still very inconsistent with Willow's previous characterization. I'm still glad that she's being such a bitch, because at least it's more interesting to see one of the characters at odds with the others, but it doesn't make sense in the context of the show. Spike finding out he can hurt Buffy is also interesting, kind of, but I also wonder if that will go anywhere, since it didn't go anywhere here. And I assume that's what the next episode will be about, because like you said, they've already done the let's end an episode with Spike and Buffy together, then have her deny it the next episode thing a bunch of times. So I'm guessing Spike is going to be trying to get revenge on her or whatever, and then the next episode again is going to end the same way. Learning that Buffy came back wrong, in quotation marks, whatever that means, is also interesting, and I also wonder if that will go anywhere. But all of these things that are potentially interesting were not interesting in this episode. It was just, and I feel like I say this a lot, but it was the potential of where those things could go that is interesting. But those things rarely go in interesting directions in terms of what's actually in the show. The nerds did nerdy things and said nerdy lines, and they said something about going on to phase 2 of their plan after stealing this diamond, but we didn't find out anything at all about what the plan actually is.
They're going to freeze all of Gotham.
I wonder if that'll be what it is, because they have the freeze ray. Man. So really, all that happened was Amy came back, which they didn't really do anything with, and Spike learned that something is off with Buffy, but that side of the episode just turned out to be the same thing we've seen them do at least twice before.
I thought it was a little disturbing that Spike finding out he could hurt Buffy was his catalyst for saying, now we can force her to be with me.
I mean, he's an evil vampire.
That is true.
The writers keep trying to make us forget that for some reason, even though he keeps saying that people shouldn't forget that, but then he acts like not an evil vampire, except when he does. The writing in the show is really good, is what I'm trying to say.
Agreed.
So I'm still intrigued to see what comes of the Willow plot, but it hasn't gone anywhere particularly interesting so far. So I'm expecting things to go along that same track for an undetermined number of episodes. So join us again next time for another thrilling episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, I guess.